how was your night?
My husband found himself in a very traumatic shark situation.
Here we go.
As we were planning to go to the waterfall and have a romantic evening, because, as you know, we don't do that very often because of the kids and work. But somehow this crazy, traumatic shark experience was enough to make him neglect his wife.
Ronnie, nice to meet you. Well said. David, how did that make you feel?
I know my truth.
Excuse me?
I know my truth.
Did you say I know my truth?
Sometimes we forget how to do the easiest thing in the world, which is just to talk to each other. Okay, let's start here. Lucy, you go first. I want you to look at Joey and say hi. And Joey, after you've heard that, I want you to look back at Lucy and say hello in return. And then we'll just see where it goes from there, okay?
Hi.
Hello.
You kept saying open and fruitful and other weird stuff that's not feeling. It's just more talking in short half sentences. And you managed to turn feeling into a job or an activity, and it was exhausting.
So now it's my fault that you don't feel satisfied.
Everything is my fault? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying
crazy.
that.
You don't look at me. You don't ever ask me how I am.
You haven't looked at me in 10 years.
I'm crazy, and everything is my fault, and my family is awful, and nothing at all is your fault.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Love Talk. You just saw there a very interesting video about tonight's topic. Now, couples argue about almost anything, right? And as much as I love my wife, we've had our fair share of arguments. Trust me, even people who love each other argue. Sometimes you argue about simple, silly things, and they're so silly, Lena, that sometimes couples forget about what they were arguing. And if you forgot about what the argument was about, it's because it was really unimportant.
Sometimes you argue about things that are less silly, like, for example, leaving empty bottles of juice in the fridge.
I don't drink juice, so it's not me.
Okay, I'll change the beverage so you can know it's you.
Don't change the beverage.
Or, for example, insisting in leaving your socks, your dirty socks, nicely rolled up on the same spot on the floor other than the basket.
Also not me. Well, the truth is that on a more serious note, arguments can seriously affect couples. And sometimes you may be arguing about something that is not worth arguing about. And we've called this show Diffusing the Daily Bomb because arguments can sometimes happen every day, several times a day. And why a bomb? Because just like an explosion, there is no positive aftermath to an argument. In an argument, nobody wins. There is no positive. You didn't learn anything with that experience. What we want to teach you tonight is that if you can avoid arguments at all costs and still deal with what you could potentially have argued about, then your relationship might just make it to a next level, a better level.
Absolutely. But before we carry on, I just would like to remind our viewers at home that you can email us, you can visit our Facebook page, see what's going on, and also our website. Absolutely.
So let's go back and talk about this, about the argument situation. You know, there are certain things that are serious, and you sort of have a disagreement on a serious issue. For example, you might argue about the fact whether you want to have more children. Perhaps one person wants to have another child, the other one doesn't, and that can turn into an argument. Yes. And that is a serious thing. It's a life-changing decision. Same thing with where you want to live, what kind of career you want to pursue, who your friends are. These are serious things that can cause arguments. However, the sad point is that that's not usually what couples argue about. They'll argue about anything. They'll argue about who has control of the remote for the TV, right? They'll argue about which programs they're going to watch.
Places they want to go when they are off and they want to go somewhere. It's like, oh no, we've been there already. And the other, no, we haven't. You know, things like this really
absolutely
trivial things.
And, you know, we want to teach you something. A bomb, going back to the bomb analogy, you know, there's that bomb squad, right? And the bomb squad, when they go and work on the bomb, they have to be very careful, Lena. You can't just go there dancing the flamenco to defuse a bomb. You have to be careful, because one wrong move can make that bomb explode. And isn't the same thing in our relationship? How many times you started a little heated discussion, and just because you raised your voice a little decibel more than what you usually do, that led it to escalate into something very serious. And that's how arguments are.
Yeah, and sometimes, James, it's all about, I believe, recognizing what, spotting what triggers the beginning of an argument and avoid it. Because there's things you cannot change. For example, imagine you're watching your precious football on Saturday night. I can already hear the little music from the program, football night, and then I start criticizing your football team or whatever, or you're always
or the fact that I should be spending time with you rather than watching football.
So, just maybe give him some time to himself. Don't say anything, let him enjoy his football, and then, you'll talk about something else later. But these are small things that make a big difference.
And perhaps something very important when talking about arguments is that when you're having a discussion, a disagreement on something, always remember what the aftermath of an argument is. Remember, when you have an argument, perhaps you spend days without talking to that person, and you love that person, you want to be with them, but because you're upset, you're angry at them, your pride prevents you from going there and being with them. And you're depriving yourself of something so beautiful because you had an argument. So before you say a word you're going to regret, before you make a remark you're going to regret, don't have the argument. Right? Think about what's going to happen if you say that word, if you push that button, like a bomb, right? The bomb has usually the green or the blue and red wire.
I don't know, that's what the movies show.
That's what the movies show, and they say, cut the blue one, cut the red one. I think
there's more wires into, but never mind.
You have to know which button not to press, which wire not to touch.
And what you just said is so true. I remember while growing up, my parents, sometimes many times we were all ready to go out on a Sunday afternoon. We would go out for dinner and go places, see at different places. Just because of a stupid argument, we are all gonna go back to the house. No more going out. Oh my God, it's such a waste of time and energy. And then you just regret it. It's like, why did I do that?
Absolutely. Why
didn't I just,
Now
agree?
We've prepared a little video that shows you the trivial things people argue about. Have a look.
Come on, you knew I was working today and I made that meal, and you could have thought to yourself, you could have said, I think I'm gonna get Brooke some flowers.
You said on our very first date that you don't like flowers, that they're a waste of money.
Every girl likes flowers, Gary.
You say that you don't like flowers. I'm supposed to take that to mean that you do like flowers?
No, this is not about, you're not getting it. You're not getting this, Gary. Okay, it's not about the lemons, it's not about the flowers, it's not about the dishes. It's just about, how many times do I have to drop hints about the ballet?
You know I can't Brooke, come here.
Going on here, and there's just a few things that I'd like to clear up, all right? Number one, it's not my fault that the play was lousy, okay? Number two, it sure as hell isn't my fault that you didn't turn out to be an actress. And the sooner you get over that little piece of soap opera, the better off we're both going to be. Number three, I don't happen to fit the role of dumb, insensitive suburban husband. You've been trying to lay that crap on me ever since we moved out here, and I'm damned if I'll wear it. Number four, April!
That looks very familiar.
Yeah, the flowers especially.
Right? The flowers, and it's not about the flowers, it's not about the dish, but they were still having an argument.
A flower,
Yeah, but they were still having the argument. If it's not about the flowers, then don't argue about the flowers, right? And I was just watching that video and thinking, if the guy had said, listen, honey, I'm sorry if you're upset about this, I'll make it up to you. End of story. And that's it.
He just looked puzzled. It's like, who is this thing talking to me like this? Like the woman is some kind of something.
But Lena,
that they don't understand.
It's the whole point that sometimes, if you see that thing is going in a direction that is not going to help, it's not going to solve anything, sometimes you just say, look, I'm sorry, I'll make it better tomorrow I'll make it up to you. That's it.
But it takes a lot of humbleness to do that.
It does. And it takes courage, and because you want to fight your corner in an argument. But what we're trying to make you understand is that in those two instances you just saw there, no one won that argument. There wasn't a winner, right? So the best thing would have been, let me just prevent this from going any further and say, look, I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you. And then you make sure that tomorrow you bring the flowers, and that's it. That's
exactly.
it. So she didn't win the argument, and you didn't win either. You just you prevented the bomb from exploding.
Actually, they win because no
They
one is
both
sleeping. No one is sleeping on the sofa that day. Everyone is sleeping in the same bed,
Absolutely.
cuddling, like we are not fighting. You're not wasting time. So
Absolutely.
This is nice.
Now, we're going to go into a short break. Stay where you are because we're going to come back with some more interesting and important information on how to prevent arguments from happening. Welcome back. We want to talk about perhaps the two main reasons why couples argue. And do you want to go first, Lena?
Yeah, one of the biggest one is definitely lack of communication. The person doesn't express how she feels, how he feels. It's all going on inside their head, their mind, and then eventually it explodes. So lack of communication is definitely a big, big problem.
And sometimes, on that note still, there are people who expect the other person to read their mind, right? Because sometimes you expect the person to understand how something is important to you, how something is upsetting you, but you've never really explained to them, right? How many times I hear people, sometimes, I'm sorry, but this one is usually women who say it, that look, I want you to know why I'm upset. And the guy has to guess, like he's in the dark. You should know why I'm upset. And it's not you should know, it's you need to talk, to explain, right?
Exactly.
Because otherwise that person doesn't have a crystal ball, and that crystal ball is not going to tell them how you're upset. You have to try to find out.
And men are not sensitive like we are, in a way, not sensitive, like emotionally, but they don't pick up on things that we do. So that's why we need to talk about how we feel.
And perhaps the second thing that is so important and so forgotten about in a relationship is that you have to try to understand that person. I mean, ask yourself, do you really know and understand that person? When you take on a hobby and you're crazy about this hobby, not a hobby that lasts for a day, but a hobby you've had all your life, usually what people do is that they try to find out everything about that hobby. I mean, everything. They read the books, they have the audio books, they buy the gear. It consumes their life. The person is dedicated to finding out about this hobby. Isn't that how your partner should be? Your partner is it's your life's work. It's like your greatest achievement. Wouldn't it be so sad that you work so hard to conquer the girl, to get the girl, and then when you have the girl, you forget about the upkeeping of that person you fought to have so much in your life. So one of the greatest things in the relationship is understanding your partner, understanding what makes her happy. If you know what makes her happy, you're going to work really hard to make sure that she's always happy.
And she will keep you very happy. It's
Absolutely.
true. When you make your partner happy, they will want to keep you happy too. So this is very important.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's very straightforward.
Lenny, it's very sad that we see some couples, they invest so much in things that sometimes don't give anything back. Think about football. I mean, I like football, but there are men that spend their salary on tickets to go and watch their football team play abroad sometimes, and sometimes they lose. They pay £1,000 to go and watch their team play in some country in Europe, and they come back, they lost 5-0. Do you think they turn their back on their team? No, they still defend their team who lost 5-0. And sometimes you can't even defend the point that your wife is trying to make. Sometimes you can't defend something she likes, but you defend your team who was thrashed 5-0. So sometimes you're more faithful, perhaps, to your football team than you are to your wife. What does that say about your marriage?
Not much. Not much.
And I know that this may sound a little harsh,
But it's the truth. We need actually, we try on this program to give very practical examples. We talk about our own examples so that we can be as transparent as we can to our viewers and see that it is what it is. If you don't invest, you don't get anything out of it.
Absolutely.
And that's how it goes in everything, with everything in life.
So the important thing we're trying to make you understand here is that if you truly want to avoid problems, if you truly want to avoid arguments, then you have to know this person who's with you. It's your life's work to get to know who this person is and how to make this person happy. We're going to go and watch this video. We'll be right back with the couple who are our guests here today, who have a very interesting story of how they learned to diffuse the bomb, the daily bomb, in their relationship.
Well, the way I met my wife is we were working together, the same place, and we were introduced by a friend, common friend.
At the first contact that we had, I saw that he was very gentleman, and that called my attention. He was very respectful, and that what called my attention.
What showed me that she would be the right person for me mostly was the fact that I saw how she could handle difficult situations. She had a very difficult family problem at home, and she was someone who didn't let that affect her. She was a tough cookie, and I said, well, if she can handle problems this way, this is the kind of person that I need by my side. Someone that can, because at work we deal with difficult situations, and we need someone, I needed someone strong by my side. Yes.
He's very caring. He all the time he's worried about if I ate, but he's worried about myself, and that shows the love.
I think that one of the main characteristics that I enjoy in her is that she's a very funny person, very intelligent. She can make, situations that sometimes something that would stress me out or something, she can make a joke about it, and all the stress is over. We have fun about it. She's a very fun person.
It was a lot of talk because we never know what a person is until they show what they through the conversation, the actions, and throughout the time he showed character, and that he was really focused what he wanted, so that also show me that this is the one. He knows what he wants. He knows I'm not going to be with somebody that one day wants one thing, another day another thing. He had goals, and he wants to go after his goals.
Wow, she deserves, if I could buy her something, I would say, I would love to buy her a trip to her favorite place, trip around Europe.
Guys, welcome to the show, Flavio and
Thanks for
Anna.
coming.
To be here.
And you just got off the plane from America
Yes, I did.
a few days ago.
After
Welcome
13
to the
years
UK.
living there.
Thank you very
13
Now
years.
here, yeah.
You 13 years in America, me 18 years in the UK.
Wow.
So you've actually been married for about...
It's gonna be 14 years
14
in November
years.
now. Yes.
So, a couple told me a couple of months ago, I'm married for 10 years and we've never argued. Are you one of those aliens?
Absolutely
Or
No.
are you a real couple
No.
that you've had?
Especially in the beginning, there were a lot of arguments, especially on my part here.
Right.
But yes, we argued a lot.
What did you...
argues. Everyone
Yes,
argues.
we would as well in the past.
Yeah, we did in our dating periods, beginning of our marriage.
First year was tough.
You know.
For you guys, what did you used to argue about? I mean, was it trivial, unimportant things? Was it serious things?
The way I see it today, I see that most of those arguments could have been avoided. But, back in the days, I think that my main mistake was trying to, make her be the way that I wanted her to be. without even noticing that I was doing that. Not knowing how to have a proper approach when we didn't see eye to eye. One thing in the beginning, to give you an example of what we would argue about, was we were working at the same place, so we would go to work together. And you know, I don't like to be late. I was ready, I was on time. Anna, let's go, you're ready. Oh, give me 5 minutes. Back then I didn't understand it, with all the respect to the women, but 5 minutes for a man is usually 5 minutes. 5 minutes for a woman means at least 25 half an hour minutes. So, okay, 5 more minutes. So 5 minutes later, you ready? No, 5 more minutes. And it would come to a point where it was happening every day. So I would just say, okay, listen, since you're not ready, I'm gone. I'm out of here. And I would jam. I would just go, take, you know, the car, leave, go to work, and say, take a bus. Take the cab. Because in my mind, you know, what was my... I wasn't doing it trying to be mean, but what I thought, listen, if someone would do that to me, the following day, I would make sure I would never let that happen again. You know, if there's something that I don't like, it's like, you know, to be told over something that I could have avoided. So...
You want to teach me a lesson.
Yeah, no, I wanted to fix the problem. I said, I did it. You know, I left, and I'm sure that tomorrow she'll never do it again.
And then tomorrow she was asking for 5 minutes.
The following morning, you know, Anna, let's go, 5 minutes. And I'm like, wow, it didn't work. How come it didn't work? I would really not understand, you know, her point of view. She was more introspective. She wouldn't, you know, speak her mind that much. And that didn't help me see her end of the deal. So that would...
But you know, Flavia, I was just thinking when you were talking there that usually, for example, now, we're a bit more mature in our relationships. We would probably say, look, when you do something like this, you're disrespecting me because it's my time, you're disrespecting the people who are waiting for us. So we would talk about it and try to make the person understand. But then I'm sure you didn't do that.
No.
You would lay down the law and say it's your problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. You're late. That's all that you're late every day.
And
Why
then-
can't you be on time?
And then she would be thinking, oh, he's so, you know, he doesn't understand me. He's so, you know.
How come he doesn't?
Yeah, I'm doing this for him. I'm preparing things for work and everything. You see.
Did you see that I was busy all the time?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't understand. We in that point, I didn't have the understanding, you know, to try to get
Problems
to talk
with
to her and say, hey.
communication.
And there were times I think I asked, but I don't know. I don't think that you would tell me. You would more like get emotional, cry, which would make me even more upset.
Yeah,
You
he
would
was
say,
more
listen,
upset.
why are you even crying if you're not changing? I would rather that you don't. If you're gonna cry and change, then cry. Cry a river. Cry out a sea.
Oh
but
my
change.
And
You were so strict.
And I'm sure. And when that happened, did you think he was being insensitive? That he didn't really care about
he was insensitive, didn't care about my feelings because I was crying, and then he would get upset because I was crying, and so.
You see, you just found your brother. You just found your brother. You see, at last you met.
Because I mean, there's actually
same thing here.
There's actually
same
something
thing.
I've mentioned in the show here before, which, for example, if we would, because I like military precision, right? With time. So if I say to Elena, look, tomorrow is our day off, but even in our day off, if I say, look, we're going to leave at 9:30. That means at 9:30 the car will be out of the garage and parked in front of the door of the house, right? And if she's there 9:40, but I tell you,
Can you
Flavia,
see yourself there, maybe?
that would spoil my whole day, and I would be in a bad mood the whole day, and that would spoil our whole day.
I
And
know that.
you know that, and that I can see now how stupid that is, because you're depriving yourself of a great day with your wife because of 10 minutes. It doesn't make sense, and you know.
And you try to organize people when people are not, you know,
That way
cannot
that
be
you are,
organized.
yeah.
People are not things. People are
And I
people.
also believe that
Sometimes-
when you're so picky, when you're so I would say one-dimensional, you end up not seeing the other things, the other qualities, the other virtues that that your spouse has, which are not the same as yours. So somewhere along the way, we learn to join strength, and she's strong in some areas, stronger than me. And in other areas, I am more disciplined than her. Now we work as a team. But it took us a while. It was a process to get to that point.
And when you guys used to have those arguments about whether you being late or other things, were you the one kind of person who you would try to talk to him to make him understand things and he didn't want to listen, or would he try to talk? How would you try to work through that at that time?
No, at that time I was very sensitive, and I would, close myself.
Right.
I would not express my feelings. I was just upset and crying and staying
How
in my
ungrateful.
corner.
I'm here doing everything for him.
But I was talking inside.
This is what goes inside of my...
That's what would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Why are you not talking to me? Talk to me. Let me know at some point. And you would still not, just come straight out and say, it's this, or I don't know why, maybe, I don't know, afraid of making me angry, or I don't know why.
I think I was afraid to make him angry.
Yeah.
He was already angry, and then I didn't want to make him more angry, and it's better not to talk.
But it's just the way that he is. I guess it all boils down to this, that at some point I understood that there are certain things that you simply will not be able to change about your partner.
Yeah.
No matter, how hard as you may try, it's just going to be a part of a person's traits, a part of a person's life. So at some point you understand to live with it, to put up with it. As she learned to put up with me also, right? And my my anger sometimes and my disagreements at things, or the way that I express in my 5 minutes of.
Let me ask you a question before we go to the break. I mean, how long did it take you to adjust things? Because usually in the beginning there's a lot of arguments, and then it gets to a point where hopefully the couple, if they've worked at the relationship, they've worked to adjust things to the point where they can now work over the arguments, and those don't really happen anymore like before. How long did it take for that to happen?
It was a long process, especially on my end. I think I was very hard-headed. I think that I needed to learn a lot. At least the first 7 years, which is half of our relationship so far, it was me still, headbutting and still, falling into some holes. It took at least 7 years for the relationship to start, taking a turn for.
And if you look at things in a way, from what you guys are telling us, she actually taught you to be more merciful, more calmer, more understanding with things, not just timekeeping, but with other things. Can you see how it brings a balance to you as a person?
Absolutely.
Because things don't happen always as you want them to happen.
As I was saying, I could say that for the past 7 years were the years where I could see more of these things that I wasn't seeing before. And I wanted to see some things that I wasn't seeing, and I wasn't paying attention to the things that were already there. So at some point, this began to change, and I said, hey, wait a minute, I can't be acting like that. Let me find out. There's so many things which I can pinpoint: her patience, her determination, her discretion, her beauty, inside, outside, many things that I appreciate today. I would appreciate back then too, but looking at these other things, it got me distracted.
Yeah. Her beauty, in England we say beauty.
Beauty, yeah.
Stop.
As I said, there are certain things that simply don't change.
Anyway, right, we're going to go to a break. But what I want to find out after the break is what tools did you use to solve these problems? I mean, there was a turning point after those 7 years where you finally got things right. Not because things changed necessarily in both of you, but because you learned how not to allow things to explode, the bombs to explode all the time. You found out how to diffuse the arguments before they actually began. And we want to find out from you what worked for you as a couple. Okay. And sometimes different things work for different couples. Yeah. But we want to find out what worked for you. So we're going to go into a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So here's things that we found out about Flavio. He was very regimented with his time, and he tried to impose that
And his ideas.
and his ideas.
From what he said.
And he tried to impose that on his wife, even though it hasn't worked until today. But you found a way to make things work, right?
But here's the good news. He finally understood it's not working, so maybe it's time for me to change.
He had to change the strategy.
Yes, so that's a positive point.
So guys, I mean, what happened after those 7 years where you said that you finally started to understand each other and how to solve those problems? What did you use? What did you do to avoid the arguments, to stop the arguments before they actually started?
I think that it was not like a certain situation, like a snap, but as time went by, I mean, it was a good relationship. We were happy. But there were days when something would come and, you know, we would let it spoil our day. And I started to understand that if I kept going that route, you know, eventually some days I would just be miserable, and I didn't want to live that way. And I understood that I was making her miserable, and I said, no, I have to change. I really have to learn. And I think that what we learned in a love therapy was so important. So many things, but if I can put my finger on one rule, one tool that helped me so much, was the tool about you don't deal with problems using your emotions. Because at work, I could control my emotions. At work, I could get if I did something wrong and, one of my superiors would pinpoint it to me that I made a mistake, even if it was hard in the way that he pinpointed it, I knew how to keep my emotions, at bay and understand it. And listen, why wasn't using that tool inside of my own house? I mean, what's more important, work or family? So, I started to apply that. Even when something would get me upset, I said, no, this is not something worth me getting upset. It's something small. I'm not going to be nitpicking at everything that she does. And little by little, it wasn't easy. It was still a process, but holding back on the emotions when it comes to problems and using intelligence was definitely a turning point, at least on my part. I don't know if she can mention something else that helped her, but this is what helped me so much. You don't solve problems with your heart. You solve problems with your mind. You keep your emotions to the side, and you just deal with the task at hand, with the problem at hand in a more rational way. Exactly, right?
Yeah, in my side, I start learning communicate. I will not.
Good.
Yeah.
It's important to talk, otherwise the other person will never guess.
Yes, I was very quiet, and because that brought problems, right? I could also do my part helping the situation. I was not helping and not getting things solved. So I was communicating more understandable the way that he grew up and he was raised, and try to get myself more organized, my time, and to come in a balance, right? And to be a team.
And something that I was thinking the other day when couples argue, and I'm sure you can identify with what I'm going to say, is that when we adults get into an argument with our partners, we become like children. Because children, when they don't get their way, they start breaking their toys, right? They start jumping up and down, and
they throw a tantrum.
And it doesn't solve
ridiculous.
the problem. And we many times we did that in the relationship. For example, when you said to Anna, well, you get the bus and you find your way there. It's exactly that, right?
Immature, childish. Yes, that's
and me, like get in the corner and.
All right, then. So I'm staying home and watching telly the whole day. Then.
Children also do that. Children also go to the corner and sulk. And that didn't solve anything. So for you think that trying to solve the problem with your intelligence rather than with your emotions, getting angry, throwing a tantrum, is what helped you guys.
I try to help her because I understood that, especially because of the problems that she had with her family in her past and everything, it was difficult for her to communicate certain things. So I said, how can I help her, get it out of her? It doesn't come naturally. So, being patient, understanding, talking more. Little by little, she became more talkative, more. She was talkative. It's just concerning some issues that concerning what she feels, right? What she's thinking in certain situations that it was kind of hard to come out naturally. So I think that I helped her, right? In that.
Yes.
And she also helped me also by being more understanding, right? Trying to listen more, trying to also do your part in trying to avoid what would get me upset, which we still do sometimes. However, we deal with it now in a much
this
better
thing of
way.
you making her feel comfortable about speaking, telling you how she feels, is purely to your advantage or any man's advantage. Because if the woman is afraid to speak how she feels, maybe because she's gonna upset you more, and she already knows how you are, so she's not gonna speak. Then you're gonna have a very nasty surprise.
Yeah.
She might explode one day. She might say goodbye to you. She might say all sorts of things like, I can't take this anymore. And you see, it is important to communicate, to learn to communicate. And communication is not only to speak, it's to listen.
Yeah.
Because every marriage goes through these things. Everyone argues. We're not here saying that, learn to diffuse the daily bond, which means never have arguments. No, we are not under that illusion. Everyone argues because everyone is different. Everyone thinks differently.
Yeah. And something just I wanted to add to what you said. I think it's very important that couples try to understand the other person, where they're coming from. Because sometimes you don't know what's making the person upset. Sometimes you don't know how the person's going to react to something. So it's important to understand what makes that person happy, what makes a person unhappy, what makes a person angry. And if you understand that and you really want to make the person happy, then you're not going to do certain things because you know it's going to hurt him or hurt her. And part of what you did was trying to understand why, like you said earlier, that she would get late because she was doing something for you, so you thought, what can I do to help her? So you were trying to understand that. That was very important, right?
Yes, the understanding that she needed help with some of the things that I could help her with. And I also needed help. And I can see that in the I believe that right now we are on the verge of our 14th anniversary. We are living the best time ever in our relationship. Every year there is improvement for the best. Not that we agree that we have become different people, but there's still things that we don't agree on, which is perfect in every couple. Because if we agree on everything, it's maybe
it would actually be very boring if we agree on everything.
Right? But the respect, when to compromise, right? I can compromise a lot on certain things to please her. She compromises also on certain things to make me happy. We understood this. It's now a battle of who does more for the other. We're competing, right? To
that's a good
make
battle
the other happy.
Yes.
Oh yes, it's a very healthy one.
I don't know if you guys got that at home, but he said it's a battle to see who does more for the other. Look how wonderful that is. We actually never had anyone on the show who put it like that. But that's a great thing. Imagine if your battles would be to see who would do more for the other person. How can a relationship like that go wrong? Right? It can't go wrong. It has to go right because you make everything you do is to make that person happy, and it's going to be paid back for sure.
Yes.
So
we had to learn.
Any final advice for couples who are arguing all the time? Any final tips?
Yeah, I would say, don't be proud. Get help. I understood that I needed help, especially for men. Sometimes it's difficult to admit that you don't know. It's hard for a man to just come straight out and say, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know everything. We like to have the security and the safety, which is something that it's in it to a man to transmit to his wife that, she can trust him. This guy knows what he's doing. But on certain things, we don't. We have to learn.
We expect to know, but we don't sometimes.
Yeah, so I would say, if you're having problems in your relationship, you don't know, what to do, you're seeing that it's going downhill, you're failing, get help. We did, and it worked for us.
And that's why we have the love therapy sessions that you can take part every Saturday, which Flavio and Anna also took part. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. Now, before we go, here's a final piece of advice. You know, there's a big difference between a disagreement and an argument. You may disagree on many things. Actually, disagreements sometimes are healthy because you are challenging each other to think and to find solutions. The key is never to allow that disagreement to turn into a full-blown argument, because let me tell you, in an argument, there is no winner. There's always two losers.
Absolutely. And who told you that your way is the right way?
Mm-hmm.
Who said that the way you think is the right way to think? No one is ever always right. So be more understanding. And by you changing for the other person, you're going to gain. You're going to become a better person. You're going to understand people around you a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, you see, this will not only change your relationship, but you as a person.
Absolutely. So perhaps there isn't one single tip to prevent disagreements to turning into arguments. Perhaps the one tip that would be important to remember is don't have an argument. And that may sound silly, but say to yourself, I will not allow this to turn into an argument. We can have a disagreement, we can have a discussion, but I will not let this turn into an argument. So you keep your voice level down, you walk away for 2 minutes, you go and you hug the person if you have to, whatever, but you never allow that to turn into an argument. Perhaps this is one thing to remember among all the other tips you've heard here in tonight's program. It's been a pleasure to be with you. We'll be back again with you next week. Until then, have a wonderful evening.